wonderful babies, wonderful children. But oftentimes, when baby comes along, mom gets forgotten about. So we really want to put mothers first in everything we do. And this is a celebration of women. Our business is female founded, and we have our team here today too. So the focus today is, while we evolve and we change in so many different ways, we really do believe that our essence remains the same. So we celebrate our essence. And what better person to welcome than Rebecca Minkoff? We're so grateful you are here with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, I think it just needs to turn on. You don't have to do a thing.
No, it's on. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're here.
Okay, we are here. So, Rebecca, you are just a remarkable fashion mogul and icon. You came to New York City at the age of 18, inspired by your department in high school, and you really have made a name for yourself. But we're really inspired by you because you show us as mothers, and you have 4 kids yourself, and you show us as mothers that we can really reach and accomplish our dreams. And so I want to talk to you today about just motherhood in general and how it's played a really wonderful role in your career. So could you walk us back to when this dream first began?
Of being a mother?
Of being a mother, but also being a fashion designer. And when your first baby came along, how did you evolve? And as baby number 2, 3, and 4 came along, how did that just infuse in your career and your work?
So I had my first, can you all hear me? Yes, it's working. I had my first baby, or I got pregnant and had him in 2011. I wasn't necessarily this is giving me odd.
Here you go.
Okay. I wasn't necessarily looking to get pregnant and have a baby at that moment, but my mother was on my case and she said, your ovaries are going to turn to dust. You cannot wait any longer. Yes. And I was like, I guess we better hurry up. So I was so anxious once I was pregnant and like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to give up responsibility and take care of another human. And I would text my husband these things because I didn't want the baby to hear any of this negativity. And he's like, well, it's too late. You're pregnant and we're having a baby. I thought about this before. Yeah. And then when we had him, the rush of love and just like, why didn't I do this sooner? I want 100 children really came out in full force. And Latham, I don't know if she's here yet, who owns Mama Glow, was my doula. And so to have her participate with me, she was my doula for my three of my 4 kids. But it adds another dimension, I feel like, to our lives as moms. Is everyone here a mom? Okay, yeah. Okay, I was gonna say if you're not one yet, it will add a new dimension.
We have our aunties here taking care of you.
Yes. I call it the 4th dimension. It's a selfless love. It's the kind like you choose your partner, right? Or you choose your friends, but this is something that's of you. And it was great. And then right away I realized I have to change my priorities. Prior to having my son, I worked 80, 90 hour works. It didn't matter, right? It was just work was building my business. It was 7 years old, so it needed like my full attention. But I said to my co-founder and my brother, like, I'm gonna be home at dinner time and he's gonna come for lunch. At the time we lived in the city, so my nanny would bring him for his lunch. During my lunch. And I just wanted to also show other women at my company, like, if you have a kid and you want to have them have their lunch with you, great. And if you need to leave because you have children, it's really important. And my brother has 5 kids, so he also really wanted to make sure that people felt comfortable in that environment with what they needed to do. And people do, right? They do think, oh, I'm going to miss out on things career-wise. And the honest answer is you will. Because you've made other priorities in your life for that time. And so someone younger, more hungry is going to take some of that place within your career, but it's the changes and sacrifices you sort of choose to make.
How do you handle that? Because motherhood is so interesting. You see it on social media. You have people tell you about how it's going to be like. So you're stepping into this without knowing what it's like, and there's so much fear. And especially if you are career focused, like you said, you don't know what's on the other side. How have you gotten the resilience to welcome the fear and welcome what's on the other side, even if that means not having every opportunity that you wanted?
I have a lot to say on this matter.
I love it. Let's go.
You have to put blinders on, and you cannot look on social media, especially at what other people are doing or how they're doing it. You know, over the summer, people are like, wow, do you ever see your kids? You're out all the time. I'm like, I see them so much. Like, I'm really good
They're always
at
there.
batching and spacing out content, okay? So otherwise you'd think that I wasn't home all summer, right? But I'll never forget, I was watching a mom who made a perfect breakfast. No, sorry, let me real good. She wakes up, works out, makes a perfect breakfast, packs a perfect lunch, cooks for the whole family, goes to work, has a martini, does the homework, goes to bed, and like over and over. And this might shock you all, but we share a facialist, and I was like, how does she do it? She does it all. She's like, she's doing drugs. And I was like, that's the unlock here, guys. That's the only way to do this. I'm not saying go do drugs. I'm not a fan of them. But that sort of made me go, blinders on. You cannot look and believe what you see. And you have to test your own boundaries. With each child, I tested mine. When is too many nights away? When is it not? You know, for the first year of every single one of my kids' life, they came along with me overseas to Korea, China, wherever I had to go, because I was breastfeeding and I wasn't willing to give up that relationship. And so is that hard on me? Yeah, it's a lot to not sleep in a different time zone and, you know, schlep a nanny and the whole thing. But to me, these were the decisions of places where I was like, I have to go all in here in order to have both. And you have to play with it and just put the blinders on and like do what makes you and your family feel the best.
I love that you say that because it's so often, like to hear you say that makes me feel good because I think there's a stoicness that I feel women have to play in motherhood. And I know myself, sometimes I was even fearful of saying I'm a mom or, you know, saying that I'm going to take my daughter along with me. How have you really navigated that? Any attitudes that you've received, negative attitudes you've received around just the way you parent, and how do you lovingly maybe put those words to bed?
I'm the type of person where if you tell me no or something's gonna rub you the wrong way that it shouldn't be, I like to do the opposite.
I'm ready to go.
So, for instance, we were having a meeting in Japan with our Japanese partners, and I was like, I have to pump right now. I'm just going to put it on, and I have my cloth, and, I cleared a room like you've never seen. It was so uncomfortable. No one would they were like, you do your thing, we'll come back in 30 minutes. I was like, I'm good. Let's keep the meeting going. Or even in front of one of our board members, investors, you know, he didn't leave the room, but he was so uncomfortable. And I was like, this is how I have to operate to be. And so I also wanted to show, we have to push the boundaries as uncomfortable as it is for things to change. You're never going to start your job come back after maternity leave and someone's like, what's your pumping schedule? When do you have to leave to go to the doctor? No one's going to give you that. Are you sleeping? Are you a little bit incoherent at 3 because you've been up for 24 hours? So unless you demand it and take that space, it's really uncomfortable, but you have to do it or no one else will. So I knew as the owner of my own company, I could take that space and hopefully show other women within my company that they could do.
By taking that space in your company, and I was really inspired in 2019, you had a show, you had Mara Martin actually nursing her baby, and you had pumps on the side. And by creating the space and creating the space for others, what have the results been? What things have you been pleased to see in the change in the world?
I mean, I have no way to measure the impact.
Of course.
We had her pumping because the whole presentation was different rooms of working women and what they find themselves doing. So each room had kind of a theme. And as we were going along, I was literally planning the rooms as I was pumping. And I was like, oh my God, we need someone who's a lactating mother who's willing to do this. And found Mara, and she was great. And it started a conversation in the media of this should just be normalized. We shouldn't have to have these conversations, or I'm pumping in the bathroom stall, or I'm hiding in a closet. This is 2020 at the time, 2019. We still shouldn't be having these conversations in 2024. And so I hope that it's gotten easier for women, and I hope that more women have said, oh, I didn't give it up because it was just too hard at the office, or I felt not supported. That I hope women have been more daring and put their cloth over and just said, I'm going to continue about my day.
Whenever I see a breastfeeding mom, I just want to give her a high five.
I'm that
creepy
woman, and I'm like,
I think I should give her a high five because it is truly remarkable. I remember myself, it was Thanksgiving, and I was I was stuck to a wall pump and I was crying while everybody was eating Thanksgiving dinner. And I don't know if you guys have had that experience or not. So it's I've been more empowered, and so it's really great that you're doing things like this. And now we have technology like the wearable breast pumps that make that hopefully a whole lot easier for everybody. So that's awesome. So tell us a little bit how motherhood has inspired your work or kind of infused itself into the work that we see today.
I think that I think about things differently. Before I became a mom, there was a woman at my office who saw me wearing like 4-inch heels. She's like, oh, when you have your baby, you'll never wear those again. I was like, that is not fair and not okay. And I'm like, I get it now, I get it. I don't ever want to wear 4-inch heels. And so I think for me, it's about how do we design for a very busy woman who happens to also be a mom? How do we have products that can multitask, whether it's a tote that can be your gym bag, your diaper bag, your go-to-work bag, and just thinking about multi-dimensionality, not with every product, but as a bulk of our products have. And a majority of our consumers are moms. More than 50% of my customers are moms. So she's definitely liking and into that idea that it's a multitasking bag.
And in a previous interview, you said having children has really deepened your commitment to sustainability, and it also inspired the Female Founders Collective. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
So the sustainability conversation is a long one, and by no means am I up here like certified perfect environment. No. We have eliminated 90% of things that cannot be recycled or plastics within our supply chain. There are still styrofoam. Sorry, can't fix that when you get shipped my product. But I think to me, as I looked at my children, I wanted to make sure that there was a place here that wasn't a toxic dump. It really informs the food, we buy for the households, the products that my daughter is trying to put on her skin right now, and just making sure that there's as little chemicals and or waste with the company as possible. But I don't claim to be perfect, so don't go talk about me later saying
no one will talk about you. No one will talk about you. And the Female Founders Collective, tell us just a little bit about your work there and how motherhood has kind of deepened your commitment to women.
So we all know the figures, right? Women make 80 cents on the dollar, women of color, almost 50 cents on the dollar to a white man. We've been talking about these statistics for a very long time and they're not changing. Women who want to raise money, 3%, a little bit less now. And so it was around 2018 where I was on a Women's History month speaking circuit and we're all talking about this. And I'm like, did anything change when I got off stage? Did you go make more money? Did you ask for a raise? Probably not. And so for me, it was what is the quickest way to solve for getting women to be more wealthy? And it's investing in female founders, giving them the educational tools they need from other founders who have done it. So we launched the collective 6 years ago today, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. At Fashion Week, just because that's how I knew how to launch something. And it was overwhelming the amount of founders that have come, signed on, come through. We have a base of around 25,000 founders. We offer workshops, education, Zooms, retreats, big hero events where it's not about how to take a selfie. It's the nitty gritty, ugly side of business that if any of you are in business, you've experienced and you're like, shit, I didn't know that. And hopefully we can provide you with experts that help you. So that was the basis for that. And again, I have a daughter who I thought I'd have to teach to be fierce, and I didn't need to teach her any of that. But
she's fierce on her own.
She's fierce on her own, yeah, since day one.
Yeah.
But I think the goal is to make sure that in her generation, and I already see it, it's not even a thought in her mind that she's unequal or that she's different. And so I'm hoping that the previous generations that had to do crazy stuff, right, and go to jail for it, each generation it's getting less, and I'm hoping that with my daughter's generation, it's just no, what are you talking about? I can do that too.
I always love that because our kids teach us so many lessons. They teach us to be brave. They teach us to be fierce. I know you shared your kids have taught you to have boundaries. I think there was a funny story. Your daughter said, Mom, you're not being a really good mom right now. Something like that. I mean, that probably hit pretty hard.
It hit pretty hard. We were actually working on Fashion Week and we had to start way earlier than we thought, and I had to get involved in a big way because someone within my company at the time who we thought could handle the work couldn't. And I spent our vacation, working the whole time, and that was supposed to be our time right before Fashion Week. And she said to me, she's like, "You're not being a good mom right now." And I was like, "Great, I'm a failure at this too." And I just said, "I'm sorry, I'm not being a great mom. I need 5 more days and I'll show up for you. But like, this is what's happening." And I just explained it to her. Like, these are sometimes things not in my control, right? That I have to do. And I just want you to look at what it also provides for our family. And so I always, every time they're like, "Oh, you're leaving again." You're just like, "Well, do you like going to summer camp? You know? Do you like that we can buy organic food? Well, mommy and daddy have to work for that. So like, cut us some slack."
I love that. Cut us some slack. So people look at you and they say you're just so successful. How do you maintain boundaries? And I don't know if I like the phrase work-life balance, because I don't know if there's ever a balance. Maybe work-life harmony. How do you maintain that in your life and in your career?
So I have an incredible team. I am not here doing everything by myself. You know, we have almost 30 people at Rebecca Minkoff. I have a team that helps with my podcast, social media. So there are people there that are like my quarterbacks. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day, it's who you surround yourself with and who you ask for help. You know, I have an incredible husband. We come to the table as it's both of our jobs to do all the things. He grocery shops, he changes diapers, you know, all the taboo things, and he loads and unloads the dishwasher. And there's a great book by Eve Rodsky called Fair Play, that if you don't feel it's balanced in your home, it's an easy way to start that conversation. I haven't had to do that, but it's a book I recommend a lot of, like, you know, this is what's happening. And how can both parties come to the table? Because you can't do it alone. You need your partner to be in it with you and do all the things that women are supposed to do.
Love that.
And then I would say on the work-life balance, work-life integration. Again, like I said, my kids come with me. They don't. They schlep with me. They don't. You know, I have a work trip coming up, and they're all coming because I can't. My husband's going to be out of town, and I couldn't figure out childcare that I felt good about. And I was like, fuck it. You're coming. And that's what has to happen.
I love that. You know, oftentimes as moms, it's hard to advocate for yourself. You're worried about, you know, what people may say. You're worried about the end outcome. And what do you recommend to people if they're maybe new to advocating for themselves? Where do you start?
Practice with someone safe. You start using that voice. It's a muscle, and it'll get stronger and stronger. And again, like I said, no one's going to come back and be like, "Give me your pumping schedule." Like, you have to advocate for yourself, because no one else will. And once you do that, you're creating space for more women to do it. So it's like, we're in a society that's afraid of discomfort right now, right? We almost have like the bowling lanes where they float the thing so that the kids never...
The bumpers.
The bumpers, thank you.
Cheating.
We're living in a bumper society where everyone is so scared of discomfort. Well, fighting for anything worthwhile, it could, you know, let's just go back in history. The women's right to vote. They were jailed and beaten. I'm sure that was really uncomfortable, right? So it's like, what are we afraid of? That someone's going to say no? Like, push. Make them uncomfortable with why they're not empowering you to have what you need to succeed. And I think until we do that in an aggressive, not mean, but an aggressive way, I don't think things change.
I love that. That's absolutely true. So for you, what is next? What should we know about the Rebecca Minkoff brand? Your vision, what's next for you? What's on the horizon?
So our 20th anniversary starts next February. I have an eyewitness in the room who met me 20 years ago. If you want to know anything about handbags, this is your expert source. And I might or might not be appearing on a TV show.
Wonder what show?
I know, it's weird. I don't know. I forgot the name of it. And we're, you know, gearing up for a really incredible collaboration with Wicked that comes out in November on the bag side. So there's a lot of fun things happening.
Love it. So our theme today is Cozy Evolution, and no 2 days are the same. We're always transforming in motherhood and life in general. But, you know, we really believe like our essence remains the same, who we are. How do you stay true to you? How do you stay true to your vision, your essence? What makes you you in a world that's always changing, and you're always pouring into so many people? How do you just listen to your inner voice?
I think that you have to stay grounded and humble and grateful, right? That I get to do this is awesome. And so I think it's about continually reminding yourself. I had an experience early on, and I won't name names, where I was a year into designing the bags. I was hustling hard. I had been a stylist before that to pay the bills. And a friend of mine said, would you assist me on this job? It's for a globally recognized celebrity. I was like, yeah, if you get her to wear the bags. She's like, deal. And I show up, the bags are scrunched at the bottom of the box, like destroyed, like she's never gonna wear them. And the woman, for a week where I carried her luggage to 7 different cities, unpacked and repacked just for her to pick out one thing, never looked at me, never said hello to me, never thanked me. And I was doing the shittiest work a stylist can do. I was like, I will never be like that woman. If I make it, I will never be like her. And so I think it's just a lesson you just remind yourself, be grateful, have gratitude, stay humble. And sometimes you're busy and like someone might come up to you and you don't have all the time in the world, but there's a way to treat people when that happens.
Absolutely. I love that. So what final words of encouragement do you have for our moms in here, maybe moms to be in here? What would you like to leave them with today?
That the journey is not perfect, it's not easy. And I think in the moments where it feels the most frenetic and the most insane, just take a breath. Center yourself. I'm not perfect at it, I'm trying to get better at it. And even take a walk. There's a lot of therapy in just taking a walk without your phone, looking around, taking a minute, and then coming back. And what I notice now more than ever, my kids are mirroring and patterning my behavior. And I've seen it, and it's the bad behavior sometimes too. And I've seen it, like that if you don't do that, you're not gonna get this. And I say that all the time, that if you don't. And then I'm seeing my daughter do that to my son, and then he's doing it to my 1.5-year-old, and I'm just like, I gotta stop. So just taking that breath, you know, and thinking before you say something that they're watching you.
I love that. They're our inspiration and they're our purpose, and yeah, they're also watching us. Well, thank you so much for your time
today.
Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining us. And everybody, I hope you have a wonderful New York Fashion Week. Continue to join the amenities that we have today, and thank you so much.
Momcozy, evolving for mom and cozy.